What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about Norwegian work culture. So, as an American, I have no idea what it's like working in Norway, but I do know that in Norway you have some very different customs, very different social expectations. So today, I'm really interested in hearing about what work culture is really like in Norway, what it's like working in Norway, and how that is different to here in America. So let's take a look.
Norwegians are not very good at small talking, really. We don't small talk much. But then we do drink a lot of coffee, and coffee is almost like a social lubricant. So a lot of problems are solved by the coffee machine.
What an interesting place to begin. So, we're talking about at like a Norwegian workplace. People don't like to chit chat, small talk. That is a very important part of American work culture. You do sometimes have to have those mindless, simple conversations about the weather or about what you did last weekend, or and so you oftentimes don't really feel like talking about that. Or so in America, it is expected, though. It is expected that you chat a little bit with your coworkers, try to be friendly. Yeah. In Norway, it sounds like Norwegians really don't like that. And one way that you can bond in the workplace is over coffee. Getting coffee from the coffee machine, drinking coffee. It's like something you can like have common ground. You can bond or share a moment having coffee. I've never thought about coffee that deeply, but it sounds like in Norway it actually has a real purpose socially.
So if you're going to work in Norway, it's very important to take part in the coffee talk and not just sit and work all the time.
Okay.
Because by the coffee machine, you can talk about anything. It could be private problems, but it could also be
Wow.
problems at work.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
very
and
important.
then yeah, no, it's super important. And as I mentioned, it's not actually the quality of the coffee is not that important because I remember when I worked at a place and they bought like the cheapest coffee they can get because we were drinking so much coffee that it became an expense in the end. So they just decided.
How much coffee do Norwegians drink? Um, Americans drink a lot of coffee. A lot. I'm pretty sure we are one of the biggest countries of coffee drinkers in the world. Do Norwegians like coffee as well? I know some countries enjoy tea. It sounds like it's usually either tea or coffee. So in Norway, you like coffee. Very good. Okay.
To buy like the cheapest coffee you could find, and yeah, no one complained about. The only thing they would complain about if it was empty. That was the complaint, and they could say, "Ah,
Okay.
this coffee is really not tasty." But that's a not important thing. It has to be black, no milk, no sugar. That's sort of optional, very optional, and
I didn't know this Norwegian work culture discussion would be so much about coffee, but since we're talking about it, you take your coffee black in Norway? That's normal? That's expected. Black? Wow, that's very different. In America, we put so much sugar and cream in our coffee. Now, some Americans drink coffee black if they're weird. But in Norway, that's expected. That's normal. Wow. Respect. Respect. Just straight up black coffee. Wow. I could not do that personally.
I'm living in Italy now. I'm like seeing that this is like a very strange concept for the Italians to see because they have the little espresso or the cappuccino, right?
Hmm.
Yes.
So yeah, No, it's a very for me it's something I learned by living abroad about Norwegians from my own culture.
Yeah.
Okay, the term called frihet under ansvar, or with freedom comes responsibility. So what does that mean, and why is that important to understand when it comes to the Norwegian in the workplace?
With freedom comes responsibility. This is like something to live by. Like I don't know. I know in Norway you have the law of Yanti. Like, is this another one of those laws? With freedom comes responsibility. What does this mean?
I think that's the most important unwritten rule of how everything works in Norway,
Oh,
and it's linked to trust. So, according to the World Value Survey, Norwegians are the most trusting people in the world. So,
really? So this is a philosophy about trust. With freedom, in Norway you have many freedoms. So you have lots of responsibility and a lot of trust. The society demands a lot of trust in Norway. That's good. I mean, a high trust society is fantastic. I didn't know Norway is the most trusting society. That's really amazing.
so we have a lot of trust. In the workplace and everywhere in schools, universities, and so on, we like people to have, we trust people, so we give a lot of freedom.
Okay.
But for foreigners who come to Norway, they see the freedom. The freedom is easy to see and understand, but it comes with a responsibility. So we have a term in Norway, frihet under ansvar, which means
Frihet und ansvar.
with freedom comes responsibility. So there is an inherent responsibility with that freedom.
So, what kind of freedom are we talking about in the workplace? It sounds like in the Norwegian workplace, maybe you have freedom to do your own tasks, to do work as you see fit, the freedom to not be supervised so much. That would make sense to me. Because in America, you, at American jobs, you are always having to show what you're doing, report what you're doing, explain why you're doing certain things. Managers are always breathing down your neck, always hovering over you, watching you. There's a lot of managers in American companies whose job is just to keep track of what people are doing, make sure people are working. Um, and it's very stifling. It's very uncomfortable. So I actually love this about Norway. If you have more freedom at work, freedom to kind of, as long as you get your job done, no one really cares what you're doing. That's amazing, but I do understand if a foreigner, like an American, came in, Americans might exploit this. They might not be trustworthy enough for this freedom because it's easy to exploit the freedom and take advantage of it and not do your work and just slack off. And I think that's what we're talking about here.
And the responsibility is, the expectation is that you actively take responsibility for your work, usually without having been told so.
Yeah.
So you will not be told what your responsibilities are. So you
Wow.
need to find out actually what they are. And then you need to actively take the responsibility and deliver what is expected.
That's amazing. Yeah, it is what I was thinking. In Norway, you figure out what needs to be done and you do it and you deliver that. And nobody's going to tell you. It's a lot of freedom, but you have to be trustworthy with and do your job because nobody's making you. I don't think this would really work in America. This is very, very different. This work culture, very different. In America, we are not, I don't know why, we're not as trustworthy. We're not. People don't respect their employer as much. People are trying to do as little as possible at work. Maybe Americans are lazy. I don't know what it is. But we have a lot of managers, and you basically have to always be reporting what you're doing or be told what to do. Yeah.
And only then, when you do this, will you get the freedom. So the freedom comes with a package.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And this was instilled in me at a very early age before
Wow.
I started school. So my mother explained it to me, and I had to do my I had to with my schoolwork. I had to work independently with my schoolwork, with my homework, and my mother always expected me to take the responsibility without her explicitly telling me to do my homework.
Oh, wow. See, that is such a great culture, great philosophy in Norway. And it starts with how you raise your children, I think. You have to instill this discipline at a young age. Let the kids do their homework without you having to tell them. I just feel like if you tried to do this in America, the kids wouldn't listen. So I don't even know how Norwegians accomplish this amazing discipline. Maybe Norwegians just as a society are more disciplined, more trustworthy. I don't know how you teach that.
Yeah. And it's the same experience I had growing up. It was like, okay, here's your homework, and trying to go to my parents and ask for any help. It was more like, well, you figure it out. You know better than me.
Wow.
And although I didn't know better than them, but it was like they tried to give us, you take care of yourself. You are independent. We want to, I don't know if they thought about this, was just like their way of sort of talking to us as kids.
Yeah.
And this is obviously something that has been instilled in us growing up as well. When we come.
Wow. This is so amazing to hear about. So interesting. Sounds like in Norway, you just have a totally different style of upbringing by parents. Norwegian children are encouraged to be very independent, to solve your own problems. And I think that is fantastic. I love that. I think that is so smart. You have to give kids more autonomy, more responsibility in order for them to develop. And but for some reason here in America, people really, I don't know, I think we're a bit overprotective. And then later in life, a lot of Americans don't know how to operate as individuals. And that extends into work. And then we have to be told what to do at work, like how we were told what to do as children. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
To the workplace, and it's super interesting when I read about this, because I think maybe a lot of foreign, not only the people coming to work, they fail to understand it, but also maybe managers and leaders, that they might feel a necessity to sort of over manage or micromanage Norwegians, and
Yeah.
it wouldn't really work that well, because
Yes, I'm starting to understand this. In Norway, if you had an American manager, it would seem way too over the top. Way too picky, micromanaging, watching what you're doing, asking you what you're doing. It would seem so annoying. And it is annoying in America, but we are used to it. Sounds like in Norway, it's just totally different. It sounds better, honestly, in Norway.
that's not freedom with comes responsibility. That's like, I'm telling you what to do. So I don't know if
Yeah.
a micromanager will be really successful in working with Norwegians.
Yeah.
It would be absolutely unsuccessful.
Yeah.
I think that would not work with Norwegians at all.
Yeah.
Norwegians are almost allergic, I would say, to micromanagement. So
Yeah, makes so much sense to me. Man, it sounds a lot more fun to work in Norway. I haven't heard everything that there is to know yet, but just based on this one philosophy, with freedom comes responsibility. I love that. I think America could learn so much from this.
if they feel that their leader, their boss, is breathing down their neck all the time and controlling them and not giving them trust and freedom, I don't think they will stay in that job.
Wow.
In fact, I left a job myself several years ago, a job that I loved, because I had a non-Norwegian manager who was trying to micromanage me, and
Wow.
I left.
Wow. That's so crazy to me. Because in America, you would never leave a job over that because you just go to another job where there's another bad manager. I've had a lot of bad managers in my day working in America. I can absolutely relate to this. You can't really quit because this is so common in America. I think we could learn so much from this. This is amazing. But this is actually a very long video. I think I'm going to stop here for now. I'm definitely going to return to this video for a part 2 because there seems to be a lot to Norwegian work culture that is very different to America, and it's very interesting. And I think we could learn a lot from this. So I've enjoyed this a lot. This video is by Paul Arnesen. Very good discussion. If you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on Norwegian work culture. If you agree with what is being said here in regards to Norway and working. And if you're interested in part 2 of this or more videos in general of me learning about Norwegian culture and things in Norway I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.